Alright, Castlevania Season 2. Definitely better than the first season, and as a whole, I can say that the Castlevania anime is the best video game adaptation I've ever seen. It knows when to stay true to the source material and when to take liberties. It's got great action and great characters. The writing is a little hit or miss at times. Some of the stuff I like include the banter between Alucard and Trevor Belmont. That one thing, one character's gonna say something out of the way to the other character's gonna say something just as out of the way back, and rather than going for each other's throats, they just laugh about it. I do miss the inclusion of Death and hope he shows up in future seasons. He's Dracula's greatest general, and why wasn't he in there? But I could say the same thing for Grant. They could have included Grant, just make them get to the Belmont estate one episode later, which is no big deal because I think they spent too much time there. They could meet Grant, he can join them. But still, what are you going to do? It was still very good for what it was. I really like Carmilla in this. She was really a unstable element in Dracula's castle who sowed deceit and wanted her own uprising against Dracula, even convincing one of Dracula's forge masters, Hector, to join her. Now, another nitpick I can come up with is other than the invasion of Dracula's castle, where you hear an awesome rendition of Bloody Tears, you don't really hear any other Castlevania music, and that, again, it subtracts from the feel of giving it the Castlevania feel. The Bloody Tears scene is my favorite because it truly felt like Castlevania then. I think when they came across the old Belmont estate, we should have heard Vampire Killer very subtly playing in the background and have the scene where Trevor finds the Morning Star. The music should have picked up a little more, and then okay, there's this mirror in the Belmont estate, and it can lock Dracula's castle in place. There's a scene where Sypha and Alucard are in the process of doing that, and some of Dracula's monsters are breaking in, and Trevor has to hold them off. In that scene, I really felt like they should have done Vampire Killer the way I said, and when Trevor has to make the stand and hold those monsters off, that the Vampire Killer theme should have then played triumphantly. I think it was cool, even the choice to have Trevor use a sword too, and see Trevor use the sword and whip in tandem, but he didn't rely on the whip enough. The whip is especially made for killing vampires, and he seemed to go more for the sword. There's even a few points where he's punching Dracula when he could have got a few hits on him with the whip. Hector and Isaac, I both think were good characters. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with them in the future. Despite how it ends, I still hope that Hector kind of ends up like he did in Curse of Darkness, even though I never played that game. There's a Viking vampire called Godbrand who's kind of an interesting character, and he's one of the ones that wants to turn against Dracula. And I think that's one of the series' biggest flaws. Even though it had focus, it was about the three getting to Dracula and killing them, and Dracula wanting to get his war on humanity. I don't think it was focused enough. It could have been a few episodes shorter. I think they spent too much time in the Belmont estate, and there was too much war planning going on, and just the whole betrayals and stuff going on with Dracula's henchmen. Just a little streamlining could have helped it. Now, when the action starts, it's really good. One of my favorite scenes is where we see Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard fighting that winged demon and the skeleton monster boss from the games, and how they work together, and they do work together good as a team. But I think, especially towards the end, Lethal One said it best. It focused too heavily on the Symphony of the Night fans. Like, even the scene when they storm the castle, Sypha's on one side, Trevor's on the other side, Alucard is in the center. And Symphony of the Night's my favorite Castlevania game, but I'm going to have to give this a negative because the Belmonts are the ones that are supposed to deal with Dracula. Ever since the events of not Aria of Sorrow, Lament of Innocence, where then Matthias manipulated the events that led to the kidnapping of Leon Belmont's wife by the vampire Walter, and her subsequent death, which made the whip become the vampire killer, or manipulated by Matthias, who would later become Dracula, and Leon Belmont made the vow that his family would hunt the night, that it would be their mission to end Matthias, who would become Dracula. So, yeah, to have the final battle focus too heavily on Alucard when I think it should have focused a little more on Trevor Belmont and stepping into his destiny, regaining the name of the Belmont family, should have taken top precedence. Now, don't get me wrong, the fight with Dracula at the end was amazing, but it's like the series, I think, again, even though it's the best adaptation ever, again, I'll have to agree with Lethal One. It's a B+. I feel like every time it takes a step towards true greatness, something pulls it down. I still really like it, so don't get me wrong. But it's because I'm such a big Castlevania fan that I'm more critical. Now, the final episode, before I get to that, after they kill Dracula, there's a scene I want to talk about. And Alucard got the fatal blow, which again I think was a mistake, but anyway, Alucard's still understandably sad. He killed his father, his mother was murdered about a year ago, and Sypha tells him to the extent of, even though you did the right thing, it's still okay to mourn the man. And Alucard just mentioned that he died a long time ago. I will admit, even though I wish Trevor had been more involved in the fatal blow, the scene where Dracula gets killed was done really emotionally. Even though there's spoilers in here, I'm not going to tell you that part. You just have to see it for yourself. Now, and again, like I said, I really like that line about basically, even though everything he did, it's still okay to mourn the man. Now, the final episode, I felt like they could have made the second to last episode 10 minutes longer and just compressed everything together, because it was very disjointed. They had to touch up on characters like Isaac, Camilla, Hector, and it just wasn't always in the most satisfying way. It was like they didn't know how they wanted to end the series. Again, great moments in there, like Alucard saying that he was going to make the castle his tomb, and Trevor Belmont No, how about you guard the knowledge that's in there, and you guard the knowledge that's in the sub-basement of the Belmont estate. Make that your home. I'm giving you my childhood home. You can protect that and your childhood home, and it was a great character moment. There's even a moment towards the end where, as they're parting ways, Alucard just flips Trevor the bird for no good reason, but that's just the nature of their relationship. They're gonna be antagonistic to each other, but at the end of the day, they don't mean anything bad by it. That's just the way they are. They'll pick at each other, but they got each other's back. And even to the point, the final scene, we see Alucard sit down in his room and cry, and like I said, the fact that they didn't know how they wanted to end it, the scene just ends so abruptly and goes into credits. So, like I said, B plus, but it's still a very good show. It falls short of greatness, but it's the best video game adaptation I've ever seen, and I can't wait to see more. I just hope in future seasons they refine their storytelling techniques. So that's my thoughts on Castlevania Season 2. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Over and out.